Simon Marks was leading a regular life. He had a stable job he was happy at, met regularly with his friends for drinks on weekends, and loved his house. Everything was going well in his life, until the day he made a very intriguing discovery under his own driveway. He would have never predicted that his car getting stuck one day in the driveway of his new home would lead to a chain of events that would flip his world around. It was October of 2016 when Simon Marks, a British man from Luton, England, had the twist of his life. This day started like every other workday for him. He was a computer support technician, and he was finally able to pay for his very first house. Simon didn't have the faintest idea about the huge secret his new house was keeping, one that was going to twist his life forever. Simon was 37 at the time, working as a computer technician, which meant that his work was conducted in an office setting. His week was packed with meetings and tasks to deliver. He would always come home past 5 p.m., exhausted from the day, prepare himself something to eat, and then face the TV for a relaxing show before heading to bed, as another packed day awaited him the next morning. The only time he could find time to really relax and enjoy life was on weekends, where he'd meet his friends and hang out. One weekend, as Simon was pulling out of his driveway to meet with his friends, he encountered a bump on the pavement. But Simon didn't expect much of it. It was just a small bump. It shouldn't be a big deal. Simon's car, for some reason, was having trouble backing out of his driveway. Something was blocking the way, which frustrated him as his trip was delayed for the time being. He tried to reverse his car out of his driveway another time, but it wasn't working. His car was stuck. Simon was obliged to really hit the gas pedal, and he eventually managed to finally get out. It was now time for him to go enjoy his weekend plans. Simon realized, however, that there was something wrong with the pavement, and he was going to have to do something about it once he came back. The pavement incident couldn't leave his mind all weekend, and he promised himself that he would get to it when he came home. Little did he know what was awaiting him. After coming home from his weekend away, Simon took a closer look at the spot in his driveway. At first, Simon thought that it was either just a piece of the pavement that had been poorly constructed, or that there used to be a garden where the driveway was now, which could mean it was improperly filled in. Both of those scenarios would be an easy fix, but it was much bigger than that. It turned out that a gigantic hole formed in his driveway. It wasn't a simple, badly constructed brick. Simon was now worried that his home was built on top of a sinkhole or something disastrous. It could threaten the stability of his newly purchased home, one he didn't have the time to even properly fill yet. Simon was aware that he wouldn't be able to figure this out on his own, so he decided to call for help. He knew immediately who to call. Simon called his father, Gerald, who came to inspect the situation. Simon later told reporters, "I was just terrified the whole house was going to vanish. It kept getting worse. More pieces of pavement kept coming up, and the large opening in the ground only kept getting bigger." Their worst fear was that it was a sinkhole, which could really be dangerous. They tend to appear out of nowhere, and when they do, they can be brutal. Sinkholes form suddenly and can get really big with time. Some are big enough to swallow whole houses and even entire communities. Simon was lucky, though. It wasn't a sinkhole that was forming on his driveway. It was something else entirely, something neither of them would ever think of. Simon and his father started digging and removing pieces of pavement. As they kept the driveway, the more they believed that whatever this was, it was man-made and had nothing to do with nature. It looked like something was intentionally covered by soil and all those layers of concrete and pavement away from anyone to find. But despite the attempts to stay hidden, Simon and his father were about to find out about it. Even though the process was slow, the father-son pair was determined to get to the bottom of the hole and find out why it was there to begin with. It was now impossible for Simon to park his car in the driveway, but that was the least of his worries at this point. What was going to become of this hole? Simon and his father were about to stop the digging when they finally saw something: a ladder within the opening in the ground. The ladder was rusted and old and extended deep into the hole. It was now pretty clear that the hole was indeed man-made. Simon and his father were admittedly scared but more so excited. The first few steps of the ladder were the only parts visible, with all the mud and dirt in the way. Now that the hole was considerably bigger, Simon wanted to explore further with the help of some modern technology. He used his cell phone and a selfie stick and descended into the black pit. He was eager to find out the big secret lying under his pavement. 11, though he was quite scared of what he was about to find out, he proceeded anyway. He was too far in to give up just now. Simon was able to make out one important detail. It became clear to him that it was an underground compartment of some sort. He realized that under his driveway was at least one, and maybe more, hidden chambers. Soon the project would prove itself as meaningful to Simon. He decided to do some research on the area his house was located in, and things started to become clear. Things were making more sense now. The house was actually built back in 1970, but the land itself was used long before the building of any house. Simon bought the home from an elderly couple, the original owners of the home. However, there was one important detail they didn't tell Simon about before they sold him the house. The old couple probably didn't think it was important, or perhaps were they sure that the space under the driveway had been so well covered that there would never be a need to disclose the information. Soon the father-son pair would confirm their suspicions. That hidden chamber S wasn't meant to hold the test of time. Simon and his father had a pretty good idea of what they were unearthing, but they needed to be sure of it. After looking on the internet, they learned that many similar sites had been uncovered around the United Kingdom. Their house was just one of many others. After some investigation, Simon and his father found out that the property where Simon now stood used to be an open field before the elderly couple bought the land and built their home. But the paperwork didn't reveal why there was a massive hole in the driveway. The documents only stated that there was nothing but empty land where the house now stood. Some big secrets had been left off of the property records, and it could be intentional. It may have been built in an era in which proper documentation wasn't the most imperative thing. When Simon and Gerald started their research on the land, they learned that the land was in a strategic place near a specific neighborhood, and the time it was built was the most revealing. Someone by the name of Sir John Anderson was given the task of preparing Britain for war with Germany. It was 1938, and he needed to protect the country's citizens from the impending war, which is how he came up with a unique strategy he and a team of engineers carried out. They created cheap and simple underground shelters that could literally be buried in people's backyards. The idea was to be close enough for them to run to at the moment of sudden impact. The chamber's walls were made of metal. They were to be a better alternative to concrete. Over 2 million of these bomb shelters were distributed around the country. But this was what Simon and Gerald discovered from their research. The actual hole in the backyard had something different, and it wasn't the typical Anderson-designed bomb shelter that they read about. The shelter on their property was indeed built around 1938, and not long after a bomb landed in the area near Luton. The citizens of the area were in complete panic, not knowing where to head to save their lives and those of their loved ones. They now understood all too well that they were a target for incoming bombs. The community came up with a plan, and they put it to work rather quickly. They built their own community shelter, one that was made even better than the ones Anderson built. This very shelter is what lay below Simon's driveway. This shelter was made of brick with at least 2 rooms inside. During World War II, the German Air Force tactically bombed parts of London, Liverpool, and Birmingham, which was close to the neighborhood Simon lived in. As Simon and his father dug deeper, they found some artifacts that had dated evidence. In one of the chambers, they found a clipping from the Herald newspaper with a date from the days of World War II. A headline read, "Luton Airport, is this the end?" The worry clearly was that the airport would be bombed by the Germans. They found more than just that. The bomb shelter was stocked full of food and water for those who had to spend time inside. People were there for days at a time. It's incredible to think it has all been made by hand, Marks reported. The walls were so sturdy and well built that even decades later, they were still intact. Despite knowing what it was that they found under the earth, Simon and his father continued to keep clearing out the bomb shelter. Since Saturday, it's been a case of dig, gate, dig. We're about 5 feet down at the moment, so it's just another 5 feet to go until it's finished. I think we're going to have to get a skip, and because there's so much rubbish to get rid of, Simon stated. They ended up discovering something else, too. Simon said how one of the walls has been bricked up. "I'm 90% sure we won't find any more rooms, but we don't know. They might have bricked up one of the walls when the house was built to make way for the foundations. If that's the case, we'll just have to leave it." Once the story went viral, Simon's driveway flooded with news reporters. But as far as the attention goes, Simon said the spotlight wasn't his interest. According to Simon, the reason why he worked hard and long to dig up the shelter was because he felt an obligation to his country's rich history. According to him, history can't just be swept under the rug, and it shouldn't be forgotten. Things from the past should be preserved and remembered for future generations. Simon and his father plan to restore the shelter and preserve it.